Welcome, everybody. Here we go. Another conversation, semi-interview with another Silva Method instructor. My name is Ken Coscia. If you've been following my work, you know that I'm the Silva training director, the lead instructor, going over 54 years doing this work. And I love doing this. And thank you for being here. Today, our topic is very important. I am reminded how vitally important it is to be careful how we speak to ourselves, that inner dialogue, especially when we're stressed. This is so important. Think about it. We're all living in a time of extremes. They're constant reminders of what's wrong and finger pointing. Each of us seems to be pulled in 100 different directions. Can you relate? Every second of the day resulting in negative states due to feelings of exhaustion, burnout, boredom, and feeling stuck. Well, my friends, it doesn't have to be that way. And when you have the resources and use them, you can take command of your life. And that's what the Silva Method is all about. We provide step-by-step tools to help you take command of your life. It's no big secret, is it, that it takes inner control. You know this. The ability to stay focused, clear, and directed in your own mind, regardless of the distractions in our world. You've probably heard me say, taking command of our lives is an inside game. Think about it. Can you relate? And a primary factor, a fundamental building block, if you will, that really is a foundation that everything lays on, is managing our inner dialogue, managing how we communicate with ourselves at all times, how we think, how we feel, and how we communicate with other people in our lives in order to be effective. The science is clear, let's face it. Words can and do change your brain. And this is why what we call in the Silva Method, mental house cleaning, is so very important. We teach it in day number 2. It's a game changer. Well, it's a 4-day training, day number 2. And the research shows further that when we can do it compassionately, it makes a better purpose. So, stay tuned, listen to the end, because we have a very special guest for you, a young woman who I've had the pleasure to know in the recent years, in the 2020s and so on. I think it's around since 2021, somewhere give or take. You won't hold me to it. And although she's a fairly new certified instructor teaching in New Mexico, Santa Fe area, beautiful area, she's really no stranger to the Silva Method. And although she was certified in 2023, she's been since 1981 studying the Silva Method as a practitioner. In addition to her own background, she's an avid reader and studier. Some of the people she's studied, I just have to say this, is Bucky Fuller, R. Buckminster Fuller, the famous architect who's been a hero of mine for a long time. I haven't met him, but apparently she's done training with him. Another one, Bob Proctor, who was one of our famous Silva Method graduates way back when. He started a little bit after me, but he attributes much of his work, much of his training, much of his coaching to what he learned in Silva. And of course, he was very creative and elaborated on it. These are just some of the few. She also had the pleasure, unlike many of the new instructors, to meet Jose Silva and to study with him in the early 80s in the Ultra Seminar on healing and so on. It's my pleasure to mentor her. And I have to just say this because it really warms my heart. She also did some instructor, we call it training, when you're a candidate with Doctors Joan McGillicuddy and Tony or Anthony Estrada. They were personal friends of mine. We went on holiday and sorry, I get touchy because they passed away not too long ago. We used to go on retreats together. There were a gang of us. We called ourselves Camp Snoopy, 8 of us. And we go up to their home in northern Arizona, right on the border of New Mexico, in the Indian, what do you call them? Slip my mind. But anyway, it's just beautiful, beautiful setting. And then their place in Casa Grande. These people were full-time clinical psychologists, had a booming practice, over 30 to 50 full-time counselors working with them, but they were Silva instructors. What I'm saying to you is Silva Method, we're all over the world, and we have some brilliant people. And our guest today, my guest, if you will, she's graced me with her presence, is Laura McAllister. She teaches again in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And I want to say, although this is being recorded, please, in your mind, in your thoughts, send some good vibes and welcome Laura to our conversation. Hey, Laura.
Hey, Ken, thank you so much for inviting me. This is truly an honor to be with Ken and it's really an honor to be representing the Silva Method. I'm just, it almost brings tears to my eyes. It's such a powerful series of tools that we learn. It's a powerful way of looking at how much control we have over our minds and our lives. So I feel very graced to be here. So thank you very much, Ken.
Oh, are you kidding? It's my pleasure. And I feel the same way. And it's interesting, Laura, you and I and fellow instructors, our colleagues, have made a conscious decision to teach this program. Throughout my career, people have said, why don't you go out on your own? You probably make more money and so on. And my answer has always been, I'm skilled in many modalities and I've studied with them all. And I always come back to this. If I really truly felt there was something better, I'd be there in a heartbeat. It's a work of art and it is an honor and a privilege. And anybody, so folks, I want to say that for someone like Laura, it takes a lot of work. People watch us make it look so easy, and she has committed herself to this. She's an avid student, not just a teacher of this, but you have to be a student too in life. And I have deep respect for you, Laura, because I know what it's like. And it's not an easy, it's fun, it's meaningful, it's so growthful, we love it. And it's not always an easy gig, is it?
No, it takes a lot of preparation, unseen preparation, like you say, studying, being able to answer all the questions that students may come up with. And even, I'm sure this has happened to you, Ken. It certainly happened to me where I didn't have the answer right away. And so a lot of follow through too, follow up with students. Yeah, so it takes commitment, and I'm delighted that I committed.
This is also why we're here today to support our community, to support especially people who have graced us with their presence in the in-person events. Because one of the things I've always loved about the Silva Method is we started in 1966, and here we are in 2025, soon 2026, still in the trenches, so to speak, still in the community, making our programs available, supporting people. And with due respect, I've seen so many come and go. They take the money and run. And when things slow down, they're gone. And we have been here in the good times, in the worst of times, in the best economy, in the worst economy. And to me, that says a lot because we're on a mission to help people take command of their lives and create a more fulfilling life. So,
Absolutely.
and I know you feel that I'm talking to the choir here with my friend and colleague here. However, what we want to do is explore is we'll see where it goes, the conversation, but mental house cleaning, manage our inner dialogue is really so important. And I like what you said to me earlier, Laura, as we were getting ready to start the recording, is about laying a foundation. And can you address that? From your point of view, what do you mean by mental house cleaning or managing inner dialogue, laying a foundation that's so necessary?
Well, it's been proven that what we think about, we bring about. I mean, it's if we focus on something, it will uh, change our mood. It'll change our feelings. It'll change our actions. It's all starts up here. So it's important that we pay attention to what's up here. I think about it like a garden. We have, if you're a gardener, if you're not a house cleaner, let's switch it over to a garden. You plant some beautiful flowers, but if you let the weeds grow, your flowers are going to be drowned out. They're going to be pushed out of the way. Same with our minds. If you plant some beautiful images, oh, I want to be a rock star, or I want to do this, or I want to help humanity, but you keep allowing the weeds to grow, like, oh, I'm not good enough, or the field is already full, or any other weed thoughts, then it's going to drown out your dreams and possibly your mission in life. So it's so important that we weed the garden. It's so important that we clean the house, our mental house. So that's what I think of as really foundational to all the tools that we have with the Silva method that we can use to help keep our house clean and to also strengthen our vision. That's kind of where I'm starting from.
I, I love that analogy, or shall I call it a metaphor, with this, because it is so true. And I wonder if you've experienced this too. You probably have. Is people come into our programs or we interact with them. Maybe we're giving some sort of introduction, and they say, "Oh yeah, I've been a student of meditation, and I've been a student of philosophy, and I've studied with some of the great masters, and I'm very spiritual." And I don't know. I think this is a little bit too elementary for me, a little bit, you know, too basic. And with due respect, and I do say this with love in my heart, and if you're one of those people watching this, take heed, because it has been my experience that some of those people are very negative in how they treat and disrespect their staff and how they speak themselves. And I think they overlook it because in their quest to be, evolving, which we all are, what Laura just said, I think is so crucial. If we don't have this fundamental, and it never stops, because if you're alive on the planet today, we're constantly being bombarded with information, disinformation, possible negativity. And if we don't manage our thoughts, it can become our worst enemy.
Yeah, I totally agree. One of the things, as you know, Ken, is one of the very first things we do is start to go into this alpha brainwave state. We start with either a mini relax or a long relax, which is one of the very first meditations we do. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because one way for us to pay attention to what we're thinking is first to relax. If we're in a frantic state of mind or running around, it's sometimes even hard to tell what we're thinking. We're reacting. But once we get into this alpha state, which we learned very early on in the training, it helps us see things more clearly. Let me put it that way. It helps us see ourselves more clearly. In the training, I love that Ken has the poster up there in the back that shows the different I call them brave wave, brain waves. They're
Yeah,
brave. It's brave to be to go to those brave waves. Okay, back to okay. Get serious. All right.
no, it's okay.
Brain waves.
Hey, Goofy,
Yeah.
we learn better when we're having fun.
Yes, that's absolutely true. We learn to get into that green, what's shown there on the chart as the green alpha state, which is a more relaxed state of mind and body. When we're kids, we're in the green and red section of this chart, which means that we are very susceptible to whatever somebody else is saying or our experiences. And so it's wonderful to go back into that childlike state of mind so that we can plant new seeds, so that we can weed out those things that really don't serve us anymore. So, you
I
go
was going
ahead.
to say, very well put. Here is what Laura's referring to, guys, gals, the chart there. And when Mr. Silva did his work, if you are new to the Silva method, we often say he started with an act of love. And he observed that young people before puberty, let's say between 8 and 12, they learn so much faster. And it's a long story, and we're not here to go into that story. But when he looked at things like meditation, hypnosis, psychology, and researching that, it's like turning on your human computer. It's like turning on a super learning state. Because in the blue, what been identified as a beta state, we're more focused objectively. We're more focused on what you can see, hear, touch, taste, and smell. And I really enjoy what you said, Laura, because meditation, what we call dynamic meditation, where you can be both active and passive, is really the difference that makes the difference from just consuming knowledge and integrating it, making it a part of us. And what you were just saying, Laura, I'm going to ask you to address a little bit more from your point of view, because when we quiet our mind and we quiet our body and we're at ease, we're consciously attuning the so-called subconscious. And then it becomes, if you look behind me, an inner conscious state.
Mhm.
And think about it, and maybe you can address this, Laura, from your experience. We all have things that hold us back. We all have things deep buried within, files upon files deep in the so-called subconscious. And one of the values of meditation when we're in a quiet state is we become more consciously aware of what's holding us back. And then we have a target. We know what to work on.
Yeah. Uh, Ken, I just love that you said that because the awareness, we can't change anything if we're not aware of it. So, step one, you become aware. These slower brainwave frequencies that we aim for and get into in the Silva method, that helps us in our awareness. So, it helps us see the weeds in the garden. It helps us pay attention to what we're focused on, pay attention to our intentions. I love not only this awareness, but just like we were talking about earlier, Ken. So if you're aware of your thoughts or your intentions, but you want to change them, well, then what do you do? And that's what really the whole Silva method is all about. We have technique after technique after tool on how to change your brain frequency, not only your frequency, but what you put in there, what your garden looks like. So, like I already mentioned, we get into the alpha state, and then later also into the even slower brainwave frequency of theta. Some of my favorite techniques that I've used is mirror of the mind, which is a technique that allows you to see, acknowledge what is, whether it's whether it's a big deal or a little deal, acknowledge what is, and then you change that image and move it slightly to the left, which has been shown to be in the subjective world. It's shown to be the future. You move it slightly to the left, and you envision what you want. The great thing is that you draw lots of pictures and colors and make it as real and emotion filled as you can. And then anytime you think about that issue or project, we call it a project now, anytime you think about that project, you only focus on what you want. So it's a combination of discovering what is or paying attention to what is, acknowledging it, but then you quickly switch to only focusing on what you want. So that's one of my favorite techniques offered in the Silva method. I want to, if it's all right with you, Ken, I want to share this other technique that I used that had kind of a profound effect.
Can I just add something?
Yes, of course.
You must be psychic because as we were
I
talking
am.
about what you said, awareness is the first step, even therapeutically. You can't do anything unless you first identify. So we're acknowledging what I would recommend has been up till now, put it in, in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just thinking here, Laura, as you were saying, mirror the mind, and you brought it up. And just to make a distinction, because part of our intention is if you're new to the Silva method, that it gives you an idea so you can make an intelligent decision. Is this for you? Is this something you want to study? And if you're already a student of the Silva method, to remind you, hint, hint, of the tools. So real quick, this is a big distinction from going to any other training out there. We're a very specific practice, very structured. And using mirror the mind, those of you who study psychology, yes, you're making perception shifts, but not just cognitively making a shift, which is intellectual up in the blue or beta, but integrating it through mental rehearsal, creative visualization, whatever you want, and living it as if it's happened already and feeling it. That's the difference. That will make the difference, what Laura's saying, once you identify something that you want to improve or you want to change. So I just wanted to offer a little takeaway that if you're practicing mental rehearsal skills, when you're in a quiet, relaxed state, you're more receptive. You're opening it. You're open to it more. You're absorbing as well. So I'm getting tongue-tied too now. We just began. Anyway, so thank you, Laura, for let me add that you wanted to. What was the other technique you were going to integrate
Well,
with that?
I had I've used all the techniques, and in one situation or another. One of my favorite stories about how I use the glove anesthesia technique is, and this is a technique that we learn in the 4-day immersion, and it's a way to stop pain. That's one thing, and it also can provide some other healing properties. Um, anyway, I was in a situation where I was helping a friend of mine strip the paint off of a car. Okay, that's I'm a tomboy sometimes. So the way we did this is we painted on this very, very strong paint stripper. Actually, it was used for airplanes. It was to strip the paint off of an airplane. Imagine this. You paint this on the car, and within seconds it bubbles up. Seconds it bubbles up on the paint bubbles up on the car, and you just easily scrape it off. It's so easy. Let me suggest, don't paint it on your arm, which is what I accidentally did. I painted it on my forearm. It hadn't been covered. I don't know why, but I accidentally swiped my forearm, and having seen what it did to paint on a car, I thought, uh-oh, I got to do something really fast. So I ran into the garage that was there, and I washed it off quickly, but not within seconds, because it took me a little while to get there. And I sat down on the curb, and I took, with my intention and in a calm state of mind, I took my hand and I placed it on my arm and sat there calm, envisioning healing, coolness, nothing. It was a little pink for 2 days, and then no scarring, no nothing.
Whoa.
So
How long ago was that?
that was a while ago. That was, a couple decades ago. This was before I was an instructor. This was after I had taken the Silva method.
Well, that's very impressive.
And so I just, it's I otherwise I may anyway, my arm is fine. And it was fine within 2 days. It didn't show anything except a little pink for a day or so.
I'm over here squirming because last night I was watching again iRobot, and there was a scene where Will Smith puts his hand into an area, and he had a prosthetic, like almost a robot arm, and all the skin melted away. And when you described that, I'm going, oh no. So luckily,
Okay, it's all good. It's all good.
yeah. But however, what a demonstration. That's the point, folks. I'm going to add what Laura's describing. You could do the same thing because you're far more powerful than you realize. It's called the mind-body connection. And our thoughts and our feelings, our emotions run our physiology. And that's a classic example. It's a little bit dramatic, but wow, these are the kinds of things we hear from our students all the time.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I just really wanted to point out it was that training and knowing that I needed to be calm. I needed to get into a calmer, more resourceful state. If I had been running around going, if I had been even thinking I'm going to have real damage to my arm, it might not have turned out as well. So
I guess I'm in a goofy mood. I have this picture of you running around. iRobot arm cancel perish that thought. But all kidding aside, that's another takeaway, folks, that Laura's sharing with you. because had she overreacted, catastrophized, and started screaming and hollering, she would have flooded her body with stress hormones. And when that happens, we we interfere with the body's defenses. When we stay calm, any nurse can tell you this, when we're calm and relaxed, our body heals more effectively, which is why medical people often say, my best advice is get plenty of bed rest.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, that was probably my most dramatic as far as healing type of techniques that I learned in Silva. Um, but good, just going back for a moment to that, weeding the garden idea. I was offering a class. I've taught other classes in the past, and I I was offering this class to about 20 people, and I really wanted it to go well. And I thought, now what would be an evidence of it going well? And I would hand out these evaluations at the end of the class, at the end of the course. And so I thought, well, one evidence of it going well would be if somebody wrote on their evaluation, this is the most interesting, informative, fun class I've had in a long time. So I sat before the class, I got in a meditative state. I sat and I thought, that's what I want to see on one of these evaluations. Well, would you be surprised to learn that at the end of the class, somebody wrote those exact words? So this is the power we have. And to know that, to know how to get into that relaxed, calm state, and to realize that, visualize what it is that you want and let go or erase or move on the things that you don't want. It's so valuable to just have this practice.
Your examples and your stories are really chock full of takeaways. So, for example, if we could circle back to what we call, what I have on the board here, mental house cleaning for that, had Laura said, and a lot of amateur public speakers, especially when they're starting out, make this rookie move. It's a mistake. Say, oh my God, I don't want to make a fool of myself. I don't want to disappoint them. That's classic because what we give energy to, what we give attention to, we give energy to, and whatever we give energy to will grow and multiply. So, what I would like to say, it's not magic because what Laura basically did was she was clear about her intention. It's not about manipulating anybody, it's about changing herself. When you're clear about your intention, you're basically giving a command, directives to your own body, your own mind of how to speak, of how to behave, of how to conduct that class. And that's one of the things that you'll learn in the Silva class with things like holo viewing or mirror the mind, as far as how to set a goal, yes, clear about your intention, but when you're in a dynamic meditative state and you're active in whether it be the green, alpha, and or theta, it's the difference that'll make the difference. You're mentally rehearsing in advance what it is you're about to do, and of course, letting it roll. So, with that in mind, Laura, let's circle back a little bit more specifically into this idea of the mental house cleaning, because what your example there is perfect. Is that, for example, with a lot of the stuff that's going on the planet, not just in America, but especially America, regardless of what you agree with or don't agree with, folks, it's hard not to think, oh my God, we're screwed, right? Or, and then sure enough, whatever we give attention to, we give energy to. So it's important with mental house cleaning to recognize, as Laura said earlier, what's been going on, to acknowledge the current reality, to acknowledge the challenge, to acknowledge the problem, convert it to a project, and then be clear about, well, what is it we want? You may not be able to change the world, you may not be able to change those politicians, but how we respond changes us, and how we respond directly is directly proportionate to whether we have serious problems or whether we navigate the crisis in a way that we still have a fulfilling life and we still maintain control. Similarly, people say, oh God, today's going to be a shit show. Excuse my language, Laura. Forgive me with that. But that's the essence. So mental house cleaning, let's take a look at it, are certainly the words we use. Words make a difference, but also the viewpoint we have, the expectancy we have before we have that delicate conversation, before we give a speech, before we pitch this proposal we want to make to XYZ company, etc. It's the difference that make the difference in what you do. So what have you noticed yourself, or what maybe would you like to add? Let's say a little more specifics for them.
Let's see, mental house cleaning. It's I don't know how much more to say. I have an example I'd love to share, that I changed my point of view about something, and quote, miraculously, my outside world changed. For example, years ago, I was living in a uh, roommate situation, and one of the roommates was supposed to take care of the yard, the garden, the grass, and most, keep it trimmed. Anyway, they hadn't done it. They hadn't done it. They hadn't done it, and I'm off to work, and I'm annoyed about it. And I thought, no, that I shouldn't do that. Let me just try this experiment. I think I will just imagine that the grass is all trimmed and beautiful. And I'll just imagine that it's like that. And I'm so grateful. And I threw in some gratitude with it. Oh, I'm so grateful that it's all trimmed. And when I get home that night, would you believe the grass is all trimmed? The roommate's all happy with how they did it. And it's like, I like this. So it's just a very small example of, you pay attention to what you're focused on. And if you want to keep having that experience, go ahead. But if you want something different, then you really need to tweak it. We use this thing called cancel, which is it's just a way of interrupting a thought or an attitude that we want to change. You could use something else, but this is what we use. Anyway, that is the type of thing I did. I changed, I noticed what I was repeating to myself. I noticed my outside experience. I didn't like it. And so I changed my words to myself and my image to myself, and it changed the outside.
Wow. By the way, I'll add something about the cancel. As Laura said, it's a pattern interrupt. That's what's called in psychology. And think about it. It's the antidote. So if you find yourself worrying and worrying, what about this? What if this? What if that? Worry is like a rocking chair. It gives us something to do, but gets us nowhere. And and here's a hint and a very important takeaway. What we all need to realize is when we worry, especially at night before we go to sleep, and we say, I should have done this, I should have done that, and we worry about the next day. We worry about, will I get everything done? We worry about our children or our grandchildren, whatever. We're inadvertently focusing on what we don't want. And we're giving a ton of energy. We're mentally rehearsing what we don't want. And the science is very clear. This is not, metaphysics anymore. The science is very clear. Whatever we give attention to, we give energy to. Whatever we give energy to, we're toning the body. Some people call it priming. In the morning, you mentally rehearse your ideal self. What if my best self were to emerge today when I'm having a conversation with Laura? What if my best self emerged when I'm having that delicate conversation with my wife or whoever with that? Versus, oh my God, I hope it's not a shit show. Again, because if we go into survival mode, stress mode, we lose. And that's what, when we worry, we're adding cortisol to the body, stress hormones to the body. And the more stress hormones, then we possibly become flooded with them. And then the brain takes over. You go into survival mode, scarcity mode. It's all about security. It's all about survival. and we don't grow, we don't learn from it. And that's why when Laura said earlier about this alpha and theta level, there's no magic to it. It's very much a part of us. It's very easy to do. The challenge is learning how to focus it, learning how to adapt it, learning how to direct our thoughts. So what I wanted to say, since you brought it up, I think it's okay. It's no big secret, guys. If ever you have a negative, worrisome type thought, I'm not going to write it on the board behind me, but the word is cancel, cancel. So while you're listening, Laura and I will help you. Laura, let's both say it out loud 3 times. You ready? Go. Cancel.
Cancel, cancel,
Say it again.
cancel.
Cancel. Can't. Come on.
How many times? Cancel, cancel, cancel.
Well, it's ridiculous. In my opinion, it's bizarre. Who talks like that? Cancel, cancel. You're being negative, honey. No, no, cancel, cancel you. No, no, cancel. It's re but it works. And many people, like our famous grad, Wayne Dyer, he had a version, I think he would say no or shifts, and Dennis Waitley way back. But the fact remains is it's so bizarre. It's like a big red flag. That's why it works. It's not meant to be entertaining. It's meant to be inner. You do it within. And if you work with somebody who's very negative, always on your case, and now, Laura, don't make any mistakes, and you better be on time, and blah, 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 and we've got a deadline to meet. You're thinking, I wouldn't say cancel, cancel to your boss, but in your head, we're thinking, meaning not giving energy, and then you got to have a substitute. I'll handle it. I'll figure it out. I'll be on time. I'll do my best. Something like that with
Yeah,
that. So
yeah,
please, folks, use it. It's so important because if you watch the news at all, most of the time you'll be within saying cancel, cancel. I'm okay. We'll work it out. Can I just show a quick book?
of course.
This is not my book. I didn't write this. I wish I did. It's called Words Can Change Your Brain by Mark Robert Waldman and Dr. Andrew Newberg. Newberg is an MD. He's a neuroscientist. He's worked, I'm not sure, I think he may have left, but he was for at least 20 years that I know of at University of Pennsylvania, mapping the brain. He is not commercial. He is the real deal. Mark Robert Waldman has become a friend. I've been gifted with our friendship, and that periodically he coaches me. I reach out to him to help me be more science-based. And this is one of the things I'm so proud of our team. We have instructors in the US here actively, and we keep up to date. And this is the benefit because a lot of recordings from way back, even bless his heart, Jose, he didn't have this brain science back then. And a lot of things that we taught have been proven to be evidence-based now, not when he was alive. When he was alive, it was anecdotal evidence. But it's so important. And one of the things that when you're in person with an instructor live is we keep up to date and there are aspects. And one of the things I want to say, read this. It's all about mental house cleaning without calling it that. It's all about, it's like your brain on anger. It's not a pretty picture. And when we harbor angry, resentful thoughts, worrisome type thoughts, it's not a pretty picture. And it just floods the body with stress hormones, which is the leading cause of illness and disease today for that. So it's an important topic, guys. As Laura said, it's very fundamental.
Yeah, yeah. I excuse me. I've been aware of the impact of words for so long, even before I took the Silva class in 1981. Um, so anyway, it's a topic that's near and dear to my heart because I know how impactful words can be. And we all know how impactful the words of a mother or a father to a child, uh, good or bad, are for their development, our development. So anyway,
Give,
I
give
just
an,
encourage. Go
give an
ahead.
example about parents and their children. Word. What comes to mind when you think of that?
Well,
Eh,
I was blessed with a mother who was always calm in the storm of me being a child. She was always calm. She was especially calm when there were physical injuries. She was like, "Oh, don't worry about it, honey. It will be okay." And so it always made a difference to me in not getting upset if I injured myself. because she always would be so calm. On the other hand, I have another relative who would get all in a tizzy and about anything. And as a kid, she would, let's say, not be an influence on me, and I would get it. I would almost be infected by her attitude. So I think words and attitudes, positive or negative, are very contagious. And unless we are attuned and aware, and as adults we can be attuned and aware and choose, like Ken was just saying, we can choose what we want to think about, we can choose what we want to focus on, we can cancel, we can stop thinking about certain things or about things in a certain way and replace it with how we do want to think about things. And I totally believe and know that that affects our, not only our physiology, but our feelings, our emotions, and our actions.
What a blessing, your mom, to have a mom like that, very conscious being. You got to have a really warm spot in your heart for her. Because, as an example, my wife Barbara, who you know, her mom was great. Her parents are very supportive. And parents do the best they know how to do. Parents care deeply for their children. It's just that often they don't have the instruction manual and they don't realize how often they're shaming their children. And then that when we feel shame, when we love ourselves, we take better care of ourselves. And shame-based emotions weaken self-love, self-compassion. And one of the things she used to call, not to Barbara, but to our brothers, they make a mistake, or like what you described, she called them idiots. You idiot! You know better. And parents don't realize how horrible that is. Or don't run. And what's the mental picture? Don't think of monkeys eating bananas. I told you, don't think of monkeys eating bananas. We got to focus on what it is we want. Pay attention. Focus here. I'm right here. Look at me versus don't look over there. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we're not going to go through all the words, but make a study of it, folks. It's so important in terms of how we communicate to people, like saying to things to people, you never listen. Really? Who wants to hear that? And oftentimes we're that kind of language, that kind of false assumption puts people on the defense. And then there's no good communication. It becomes like this, or they close down with respect. So it's, yes, the words we use, but also, as Laura was saying, the attitudes. And I really like what you said. If, you know, having somebody goes into a tizzy and they start blaming us because they love us, because they care, and so on. I had an experience with my grandson, Bishop, who's now 9. Whoa, flies. And this is a couple of years ago. Frequently, we take care of them and they stay in our home to help out the kids. And I love it. I drop everything for them. And we were at the sink in the kitchen and I was running the garbage disposal and doing something. And he did something that he could have injured himself. And I didn't scream, but he's an empath. He's very sensitive. He and I are very attuned. And I raised my voice a bit, and the tone was serious, but I didn't yell. He said, "Oh, Grandpa, why are you yelling at me?" And I thanked him. I said, "Oh, forgive me, because I love you and I care, and I want to make sure you're safe. And what you were doing, you almost got hurt, and I was jumping, but I overreacted." I mean, he nailed me. He called me out on that. And I'm not a yeller, and I didn't yell at him, but it was just tone. Because people think, I don't yell, but the tone makes a difference when we speak. And that's also part of mental house cleaning, is being clear. What is it we want to communicate? What's the outcome we want? And when we're clear about that and we're clear about our intention, we're literally priming our body mind to feel that. Our posture responds, our body language responds, even the subtle nuances and how we look in the eyes all change and shift. So it's really, it's quite a science. And folks, I hope one day you'll grace Laura with your presence, or myself or some of our team here in the US, because it's, if you're reading the book or you're watching some of the videos, or Silva India has got a program that Silva International asked them to do. It's only 24 hours. It's not the course. And there's a series of videos, and it's a great intro. I hope. I don't know. They have very limited experience, so I hope that they're giving value. Mind Valley has their 12 hours of pre-recorded videos. And again, it's not the coursework. It serves, I would say, as a good preview of some of what you could expect, much like the home studies. They're out there. Our intention was to give people a sample. However, if I may say, and I think, Laura, I'll let you comment how you feel about it. If you're serious and you're a serious student and you want the real deal, there's nothing like being in person with somebody who has mastered the techniques like a certified Silva instructor, because you also have the interaction in their aura, in their field, so to speak, in the room. And that really helps the interaction of the group, the clarity of the instructor, being able to ask your questions. It's called in high performance studies, or what used to be called peak performance studies, deliberate practice. Best way to learn is getting immediate feedback. And when you're in the class with Laura, Laura's watching you and she can give you feedback. Hey, Ken, I noticed this. How are you doing? Or you have a question for Laura or myself or whoever. And that makes a big, huge difference, let alone when we do the work we haven't even touched. That's going to be my next topic in the conversation, by the way, intuition. So, so Laura, I think we want to start wrapping up a little bit. Do you have any parting thoughts, ideas that come to mind? I know we could go on forever. Silver instructors like to talk. How about it, Laura?
I well, thank you for doing the next one on intuition because that's such an important aspect of being a human is having this capacity and to develop this capacity even more. So I'm grateful for that. I love in person. I love interacting with others. I love as an instructor or as a student. One of the great things about being a student also in a live class is sometimes graduates will be there, people who already have some great experience, and we can all learn from their experience. So it's just a fantastic experience for all. Friendships are formed. It's and we have fun. And like Ken already mentioned all the other benefits, but I would love to see you in a class. I'd love it.
It's fun. We're going to go back and forth a little bit. What Laura just said about graduates, for those of you who are new to Silva, we have a policy. Once you've attended and completed the training, anywhere in the world, you have a certificate, an ID card, you can review. It's of immense value. You get more of it. It's like reading a good book. You hear it differently. Quite frankly, even those of you who think you're very well prepared, you're still not sure what to expect, and there's some apprehension. There's more defenses, more of a field, a shield. You come back as a grad reviewer, it's like, okay, baby, how do I really master this? And you'll get 10 times more out of it. And you can hold Laura to it. You can hold, well, I'm the one saying it, but I know she agrees. And by the way, you only pay a small fraction of what you paid when you first attended. And with due respect, there are trainings out there, they're pretty good, they're maybe excellent, but you pay full boat every time you come back. You pay full price, and they keep raising their fees. We raise our fees periodically to keep them. We're still probably the least expensive out there and the biggest. You get the most value for that. I know I'm biased, but do your research, do your due diligence, and you'll see what I mean. But really take advantage of what she said. Our graduates are proof of what's possible. So Laura, she's a shining example of the Silva method in action. However, you may think she's biased. She's an instructor. She wants me in the class. When our grads are there, they're proof of what's possible. And they're really our heroes because these are people who are utilizing the skills. So Laura, I appreciate you making the time to do this. We have to do this more. And I know the other people like Amy and Manish and so on and so forth, Erica and Matt, we've all agreed that we're going to do more of this, and we will for that with each other. And those you still here, thank you for listening. And Laura, you were going to say?
Uh, I have a lot more to say about mental house cleaning and come to a class. I would love to see you. And once you graduate, come to my graduate groups. I host graduate groups every 2 weeks, and that's free for anybody who is a graduate. So it's a great way to stay in touch with people of like mind. If you want to reach me, I guess I should mention.
Yes, please do.
Yes, I'm here. I'm based in Santa Fe. I'm branching out a little bit to other parts nearby. Santa Fe, New Mexico. My website is Silva Method SW. The SW stands for Southwest .com. My email is silvamethodsw@gmail.com. Either of those is great, and my phone number is also on the website. So I welcome texts, conversations, chats, emails, any way to get in touch. I'm here for you.
Excellent. I know we're going back and forth, but she brought up another point is some time ago when I first started in 1971, I had organized, we used to call them cottage groups, and we had 33 throughout Metro Boston. And at the time I had moved from engineering. Thanks to Silva, I was flunking out, but thanks to Silva, I graduated the highest honors, and went into business administration, study management psychology, but organizing these groups. So some time ago, I set an intention. I wanted to get most people now do it virtually, these practice groups. And Laura graced us with her presence. She's one of the graduate group leaders who, like she said, it's complimentary and it's worth. You can come once, twice, occasionally, and you're with like minds. And the point is, it's not a quick fix, guys, gals. If you're serious about this, it's going to take some work, effort, not a whole lot. It's fun, it's meaningful. And just know that your local instructor is there, has got your back, and will provide a ton of follow-up. That's all part and parcel. It's complimentary. Occasionally we have paid for workshops, yes, but most of it we provide because without support, people tend to slip back into old patterns. And we want to make sure you stay with it. So I'm going to get ready to sign off. And again, Laura, she keeps saying things that reminds me of stuff that's so valuable. It's a team. That's the value of a mastermind. This is like a mastermind, the two of us together with that. And by the way, my website is silvamethodct.com, Silva Method of Connecticut. And if you Google either of our names, it'll come up. If you Google, excuse me, Silva Method in New Mexico, Laura will come up for that, etc. So glad that you were here. Thank you for gracing with it, especially you watching this video to the very end. Says a lot about you. And thank you for honoring us with your time and presence. And
Yes.
Laura, once again, thanks. You want to say so long one more time?
Yes, I do. I am delighted to be here with Ken and anybody else who is watching this. I'm delighted to be with you, and do call, do reach out. We're here for you.
And Jose Silva used to say, may the rest of your life be the best of your life.